Hello again. Well, last time I left you with a little bit of a puzzle to find out who was this unknown prophet. The prophet of love. Who was he? Well, he prophesied to the 10 northern kingdoms, and one of the comments was it was Amos. Well, Amos did prophesy to the northern kingdoms, but it was not that prophet who God chose to be a sort of parable of his love for his people. Now, prophets are God's mouthpieces, and a true prophet should be greatly honoured and his words should be obeyed. Sometimes God's prophets were required to say unusual things and to act in unusual ways. Hosea, that's a prophet, was required by God to act in a unique role. When the Lord first spoke with Hosea, this is what he said: "Find a prostitute and marry her. Make her the mother of your children, and here's why. Because the whole country has become a whoredom and unfaithful to me." That's Hosea 1 verse 2 from the Message translation. God wanted to use this family, the life of his prophet, as a parable or a living illustration of his reaction to his adulterous nation, Israel. Let's see how this played out. Hosea did it. He picked Gomer, daughter of Diblaim. She got pregnant and gave him a son, and he was named Jezreel, because God said, "It will not be long now before I'll make the people of Israel pay for the massacre at Jezreel." Payday is coming. That's Hosea 1 and verses 3 and 4. Now, I've not got time on this teaching to explain the slaughter that went on at Jezreel, but you can do a little bit of research yourself. Verse 6, Gomer got pregnant again. This time she had a daughter. And God told Hosea, "Call your daughter Lo Ruhamah, or not pitied, for I will no longer have love, pity, or mercy on the house of Israel, that I should in any way pardon them." Going down to verse 8. Now when Gomer had weaned her daughter, she became pregnant again and bore a son. And the Lord said, "Call his name Lo-Ami. You're not my people, and I am not your God." That's what the word means, the name means. Well, that's quite a family. In Jewish tradition, names are important and they carry significance. It was clear through the words and the names that God told Hosea to call his kids that there was a message here for the nation of Israel to tell them that God was angry at their idolatry and infidelity of his own wife. Now, if you've not got that concept of Israel being the wife of God, have a look at Jeremiah 3 and verse 14. Now we slip on down now to Hosea chapter 2, and we find that Gomer was unfaithful. She had 3 kids, but she was still unfaithful. So reading from the Message again, this is from chapter 2. "Haul your mother into court, accuse her. She's no longer my wife. I'm no longer her husband. Tell her to quit dressing like a prostitute or a whore, displaying her breasts for sale. If she refuses, I'll rip off her clothes and expose her naked as a newborn. I'll turn her skin into dried out leather and her body into a Badlands landscape, a rack of bones in the desert. I'll have nothing to do with her children, born one and all in a whorehouse. Face it, your mother's been a whore, bringing bastard children into the world. She said, I'm going off to see my lovers. They'll wine and dine me, dress and caress me, perfume and adorn me. But I'll fix her. I'll dump her in a field of thistles, then lose her in a dead-end alley. She'll go on the hunt for her lovers and not find a single one. She'll look high and low but won't find one. Then she'll say, I'm going back to my husband, the one I started out with. That was a better life by far than this one." It's a sad and painful, and that was Hosea 2 verses 5 to 7, by the way. It's a sad and painful end to Gomer's infidelity. Once her lovers had used her, they threw her out. And according to tradition, she was put up for auction. And if nobody wanted to buy her, she was killed. In chapter 3 of Hosea, we find the husband's unconditional love for his wife. Here we see in verse 1 and 2 of chapter 3, the Lord said to me, go again, love the same woman, Gomer, who is an adulteress, even as the Lord loves the children of Israel, though they turn to other gods and love the cakes of raisins that they use in feasts of idol worship. So I bought her for 15 pieces of silver and a homer and a half of barley, which was the price of a slave. That's Hosea chapter 3, verse 1 and 2 from the Amplified Bible. Hosea the husband had to put aside the pain of knowing that his wife had had sex with other men and still take her back. And in doing so, Hosea saved her from a sure death, because nobody would want her. What was God's purpose in asking his prophet to continue to love his spouse despite her sin? It was to demonstrate to his people, Israel, those many years ago, the true meaning of love from God's perspective. But as recorded in Scripture, we can learn from this model. It's a strong example to us because Jesus said to us, I'm giving you a new commandment. Love one another as I have loved you. John 13 and verse 34. Now, how can we do that if we don't know what proper love is? Hosea's love and Yeshua's love, those models need to replace the lies that we have unknowingly absorbed from the perverse anti-God cultures around us. So we need to reprogram our mind to find out what true love and to act accordingly on what true love really is.